The $30 billion I controlled felt heavier than the marble floors I crossed. Tonight, I was here to watch the sound of crystal crack. 5 years after being ousted from my family's company, I finally stepped back into their world. The marble floors, gold-trimmed banisters, and the scent of cedar and precision that used to define my parents' idea of success. The Hawthorne estate in Aspen shimmered like a flawless snow globe from the outside. Freezing within. I told myself I was just here for one evening to maintain appearances. If you love real emotional stories, hit subscribe, we post one every day. Drop a comment and tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I want to know who is in this room with me. Monaco looks like forgiveness from a distance. Golden light on water. Music spilling through glass. Palm shadows stitched across the terrace like lace inside the villa. The air tastes like citrus oil and chilled silver. My heels click once and stop. I let the room find me before I bother to find it. They built this place to be seen through. Floor-to-ceiling panes. A ceiling pretending to be sky. An atrium that swallows voices until only the beautiful ones survive. Investors drift in small orbits, speaking the language of legacy and returns. They touch the art without touching it. They wear confidence like cologne. I once thought I needed that scent to be real. He is here, exactly where the lights make him tallest. The man who drew cities on napkins and children on silence. He tips his chin and the room adjusts. People call him master. They mean it. Control has a pleasant aftertaste when you are not the one being swallowed. She glides a step behind. All understatement and polished warmth. She is choreography made flesh. When she leans into a conversation, a donor signs. When she changes earrings, the color of the room shifts with her. She once told me grace was discipline that learned to smile. I believed her for too long. My brother moves the corners like a concierge of power. A hand on a shoulder. A whisper disguised as a promise. He speaks in headlines he hasn't earned. The ring on his fiancée's finger glints like an apology no one intends to make. She is live for her audience, narrating sophistication as if it needs her to exist. She pans the crowd and slides past me. Frame clean. Narrative intact. In her lens, I am a coat rack. I stand near the glass where the sea rehearses a soft percussion against the rocks. Steady, indifferent. Warm air slips in from the terrace. It does not melt anything important. The woman catches my eye from the service corridor and gives the smallest nod. The kind that says, "You're not imagining it. You're just early." She has fed this house longer than its owners have loved it. Flour on her knuckles. Salt in her hair. A map of kindness etched around her eyes. When she murmurs, "Welcome home," I let the words land. Then let them go. Home is not a building. It is a temperature. The staff has polished everything until it forgets it was ever touched by human hands. Silver cold enough to numb a mouth. Crystal thin enough to slice a sentence. The place smells like rosemary and money. A quartet drapes velvet over every conversation. Laughter clips its consonants. Nothing messy survives here unless someone needs a story. My phone is on silent. It has weight, not heavy like guilt, heavy like a key. I keep it in my palm, fine side down, pulse reminding me. The night will do what I brought it here to do. I do not check it. Control is not looking when you want to. Control is choosing not to want. He sees me and offers that half smile that used to be my weather report. Obey it and the forecast is stormy, refuse and it is partly cloudy. He gestures toward a cluster of patrons and drifts away before I can refuse. This is how he edits people mid-sentence, mid-gesture, mid-life. He trims until only the shape he likes remains. She approaches with a kiss near my cheekbone. Perfume like white flowers growing through concrete. Her questions arrive already answered. How's work? Still running that tiny sustainability project. Still convinced that art can cover its own bills. I say I'm well. I say it like a statement of account. Not pleading. Evelyn squeezes my hand and scans the room, ensuring nothing will stumble. The gesture photographs as maternal. Andrew appears on my other side. Eyes as sharp as the glass behind him. He has perfected the tone of polite reproach. You should have called. We could have arranged a better seat. He gestures toward the chart, making a show of guiding me to the far end of the table, where the view stretches and the microphone is absent. I thank him. Sincerely. Amplification is unnecessary. Echoes suffice. His fiancée swings back with a grin and a camera. She tells me her followers adore stories of underdogs, then asks if I have any advice for girls still finding their way. I answer without pause. Stop seeking permission from rooms you never built. She laughs like it's clever. She'll clip it later, caption it inspiration. A board member drifts past, muttering a word he assumes I cannot hear, liquidity. Another trails after him, thin as smoke, covenants. The sea continues breathing. The glass insists it is air. Fingertips touch the edge of the table, cold climbs my skin. It studies me. They toast to heritage, to towers not yet built, to futures shaped like signatures. I do not lift my glass. I place it. The sound is small, precise, but it reaches him. His gaze lingers longer than protocol allows. A subtle tremor, barely there. Not fear, recognition. He knows I did not come for the view. My phone hums softly. Obedient. I do not move. Somewhere in the estate, a door closes, and the air shifts by a fraction. Exact. Warm night pressed against cold glass. Cold eyes on a warm face. The room balances as if it could not tip. I breathe. Taste citrus and salt. Count chandeliers, not from necessity, but because I like knowing how many points will catch light when the angle changes. A vibration comes, subtle against my palm. The sort of signal that 5 years ago would have made me flinch. Tonight, it is confirmation. Everything I've built has caught up with the world that once erased me. Hawthorne Private Bank. Lucas Vale. Subject line, year-end confirmation, transfer completed. Clinical. No emotion. Precision only. I need not open it. I already know the number. My pulse steadies. 60 billion. Not bragging, just leverage. I set the phone face down beside my glass and glance at the villa console. Could you escort the Hawthorne consultant to the East Terrace in 10 minutes? My tone polite, measured, detached enough to read as courtesy. He nods and hurries off. Mrs. Devlin appears behind me. Kit as ever, faint scent of linen and warmth. Need anything, miss? Yes. I say, the study, for a few minutes. Lock the door behind me. Her eyes flick up, half question, half understanding. Of course. The estate hums around me, music, laughter, glass. The perfect soundtrack for a night built entirely on illusion. I step into the study, close the door, and call Lucas. He answers on the first ring. His voice smooth, careful. Ms. Westbrook, Merry Christmas. Likewise, I reply, watching my reflection in the window. If anyone asks, we're finalizing liquidity for the Monaco Art Fund. A beat. Understood. And Lucas, I add, keep your tone steady when you arrive. No excitement, no emphasis, only business. He exhales a soft note of admiration, thinly veiled as professionalism. Of course. I hang up. My reflection shows hair pinned back. Face calm, eyes cold for the first time in years. I see what he never could. I no longer look like his daughter. I look like his lesson. I open the study door and step back into the current of the party. The villa console catches my eye. Your guest has arrived. Good. Please seat him 2 chairs left of Mr. Thornton. I hesitate, sensing the small mischief in my request, but obey. I move toward the event coordinator next. A small change, I say. Dim the dining room lights. Leave only the gallery spots on the architectural model. Of course, Miss Westbrook. Any particular reason? Ambience, I reply with a faint smile. I make another adjustment. My name quietly vanishes from the printed guest list signage at the entrance. Not absence, just invisibility. I want them to forget I'm here until they can't. Across the room, Andrew raises a flute of champagne, laughing with one of my father's old investors. Their laughter sounds brittle. Rehearsed. My mother straightens a place card and leans toward Charlotte, whispering like she's coaching an actress mid-scene. The show must appear effortless. They have always been masters of that. I pause by the grand staircase. Light from the sea fractures through the glass walls, scattering patterns across the marble. I imagine them as blueprints, lines of symmetry, strength, control. Only this time, I am the architect. It strikes me how absurdly calm I feel. Years ago, I would have been shaking, angry, desperate for approval, terrified of misstepping in their perfect house. But I learned something they never did. Emotion fades fast. Systems endure. I take a long breath. Feeling the quiet pulse of order beneath the noise, everything aligns now. The bank transfer, the seating, the lighting, the model they'll unveil later, the tower my father's firm has built its reputation on. A showpiece for their guests. For me, proof that power doesn't have to roar. From the terrace, I glimpse Lucas arriving. Expression neutral. Professional enough to be background, yet present enough to draw attention when I need it. Perfect. I walk back to the dining hall. The sea reflects off the glass walls like molten steel. Laughter grows thinner, sharper. The party doesn't realize it is already shifting. Control isn't dominance, it's choreography. Small moves, unnoticed until the scene rearranges itself entirely. By the time I reach my seat, everything is in place. Lucas sits exactly where I wanted. The model gleams in the corner beneath a silk cloth. The lighting technician nods at me from across the room, ready when I am. I take my seat, phone resting beside the silverware like a sleeping weapon. No announcement necessary. I only need to wait for dessert. When it arrives, the room will see itself reflected in my eyes, framed in truth. Music softens. A string quartet weaves gold behind the conversations while waiters pour more wine. Every fork, every laugh, every word lands precisely where it should. They think tonight is about them, the Monroe legacy, the Hawthorne name. But the real story began 5 winters ago, in a room lined with glass like this, except then I was on the wrong side. I remember my father at the head of that conference table. Voice measured, expression surgical. Architecture isn't therapy. Becca, it's business, and you don't understand. The men beside him nodded, pretending not to enjoy the spectacle. I spent 3 years clawing for a chance to prove I was more than decoration. Less than 10 minutes later, he stripped it away. He called it a realignment. I called it exile. That night, I packed whatever fit into 2 suitcases and rented a studio above a bakery that smelled of burnt sugar and loneliness. The radiator coughed more than it worked. Each time the oven below fired up, the ceiling shuddered. Still, it was mine. For a while, I worked 12-hour days designing eco-homes no one could afford. I was invisible until one afternoon, a stranger appeared carrying blueprints for a modular housing prototype. His name was Julian. He spoke fast, thought faster, and asked a question no one else had: why build for them when you could build for yourself? That's how Aurora began. 2 laptops, 1 shared desk, coffee that tasted like rust. We weren't aiming to build a dynasty. We were just tired of asking for permission. Investors laughed us out of rooms. One called me a dreamer with a sharp mind, but the projects kept arriving. Small ones first, community art hubs, then sustainable design studios. Each one survived because someone had to care. I funded 3 myself. Emptied every account I owned. Slowly, what they mocked began to matter. Grants multiplied. So did partners. By the 3rd year, Aurora wasn't begging for meetings. It was rejecting them. I look down the table now and think of the architects whose rent I covered. The young designers I mentored. The single mother who built her studio after we backed her prototype. They don't know my name built this empire. That's how I wanted it. Quiet influence lasts longer than applause. Yet the past lingers, the invisible chain, the echo of his voice. For years, I believed obedience was love. I thought silence meant belonging. Every choice measured against their expectations. As if disobedience made me unworthy of family. I built walls from politeness and called them shields. It took years to recognize the truth, a cage lined with compliments. When I finally left, it wasn't rebellion. It was survival. Even then, I waited, because you can't argue with someone fueled by control. You can only outgrow their need to win. So, I learned patience. Silence became scaffolding. Every blueprint a brick in my escape. Across the table, my father lifts his glass. Voice smooth as marble, he says, and to those who learn that ambition without structure is chaos. Polite laughter ripples. Eleanor smiles, sharp enough to cut crystal. Some lessons arrive late. Julian chuckles. If they learn it at all. I stir my wine, letting their words hang. Once, I would have folded under them. Tonight, they sound small. I glance at the endless sea beyond the glass. Unbothered. The same patience that built my empire keeps me still now. I wasn't trying to beat them. I was building something beyond them. Soon, they'll grasp what that means. The first sign of the shift comes in paper, not sound. A waiter rolls out the covered scale model of my father's so-called legacy tower. It gleams under gallery lights. Brass beams catch candlelight like trophies. Investors lean in, murmuring about design, about elegance. They don't know who financed it. Aurora Capital already owns it. I trace my napkin edge, pretending to be a spectator. The difference between noise and power is documentation. Tonight, I brought both. Every clause, every debt swap, every silent signature is in motion. The Monroe Group's loans consolidated under a shell company I control. Options triggered the moment this gala began. Trustees notified. The countdown ticks silently. Justice in silk gloves. No shouting. No vengeance. Just architecture engineered to collapse elegantly. Lucas enters quietly. Coat draped over his arm, the picture of discretion. I nod toward the empty chair near my father. 2 seats away. He sits, offers a courteous greeting, and vanishes, exactly what I need. My father notices only enough to register another consultant orbiting his gravity. Hawthorne, he asks. Lucas inclines his head. Pleasure, sir. Phila, I tell myself. Breathe. This is the moment before the hinge turns. Dessert service begins. Caramel and burnt orange scent drifts. Behind me, the lighting technician I briefed tweaks the dials. The dining room dims as the silver dome lifts from the architectural model. Brass rods catch the gallery light, sending rays across the glass walls until the villa mirrors itself. Every person duplicated, multiplied, trapped in reflections. I watch Charles's expression as he catches the reflection first. Sees himself framed inside his own monument. He mistakes it for grandeur. I recognize it for what it is, revelation. This is where Module 2 hums quietly beneath the surface, the kind of justice that moves through the hidden pipes beneath polished floors. I remind myself this isn't ruin. It's recovery. I'm not burning the soil I grew in. I'm planting something sturdier inside it. Once the final filings go through, the fund will channel apprenticeships, ethical fabrication hubs, research labs, and seed grants for the small studios that should have thrived years ago. Every redirected dollar becomes origin instead of leash. I sip water, not wine. It steadies my voice. You got the proportions right, Father, I say lightly. Though the financing tag seems different now. Charles glances at the brass plate he skimmed past earlier. Aurora Capital, primary financier. Small letters. A clean detonation. His brow contracts. A thin laugh escapes, stiff, anxious. Clearly a mistake. Across the table, Isabella tilts forward, phone lifted for her audience. The camera zooms in on the plaque, the logo gilded by the softened lights. Oh my God, it really says, she begins, before Andrew nudges her sharply. Too late. Her stream is already live. A board member murmurs, Aurora, isn't that the sustainability specialist out of New York? London, someone corrects. They made a major acquisition last quarter. Eleanor's smile twitches. Her eyes flick to me, asking for a lifeline. I leave her hands empty. A concierge steps beside Charles, offering a sealed envelope. Urgent correspondence for Mr. Hawthorne, he says. Charles tears the wax seal. His face pales. He rereads it, slower, as though repetition might bend the meaning. Notice of change in property management. Effective January 1st. Aota Properties, Monaco. He lifts his gaze. Our eyes connect across silver, glass, and expectation. Ownership doesn't need volume. It needs paperwork. I raise my glass of water, not in toast, only acknowledgement, and take a slow sip. Around us, the conversations unravel into thin silence. The air feels stretched, one heartbeat shy of shattering. Outside, the sea keeps moving, indifferent. Inside the villa, his villa, the shrine reassigns its allegiance. To me. I don't smile. The design speaks for me. The shift is so quiet, no one reacts at first. Then Lucas Vale's phone vibrates once against the linen. He glances down, his composure untouched, and lifts his head. Ms. Westbrook, he says, evenly, just loud enough, your portfolio transfer has been finalized. Every conversation dies mid-syllable. Even the quartet falters. Charles's fork stops midair, suspended like a dropped truth. He blinks, stunned. I keep my focus on Lucas. Thank you. Please record that the timing was perfect. He nods, unbothered. The room, however, begins to fray. Charles shifts sharply. What transfer? I don't grace him with direct attention. Liquidity management, I answer simply. Julian laughs under his breath. Liquidity of what? Your imaginary fund. Lucas turns to him without changing tone. Aurora's consolidated holdings now exceed 60 billion. The number echoes like thunder sealed inside marble. Silence. Then a sharp crack, the sound of glass breaking. Julian's champagne flute slips from his hand, scattering shards across white linen. The fizzing gold spreads like spilled truth. No one inhales. Isabella's live stream freezes, her face captured mid-shock. Someone near the end of the table mutters, 60, as if repetition might shrink the figure. Charles rises abruptly. Chair legs scrape the stone. You expect me to accept this nonsense? I meet his stare. You don't need to accept it. The transfer's completed an hour ago. He searches the table for support. No one meets his eyes. Those who once mirrored his authority now examine their cutlery with religious focus. Eleanor reaches tentatively for his arm. Charles, sit down. He shakes her off. This is ridiculous. What have you done? Only what he trained me for. Structure. Leverage. Ownership, I say quietly. Charles's voice thins. We can still fix this. Together. I rise, smoothing the fabric at my waist. No, Father. We can't repair something you never believed was damaged. Eleanor tries to stitch the moment back together, her voice fragile despite the poise. For the family, Thela, please. We're still your family. I look at her, truly look, and for the first time, there's no heat, only understanding. Family doesn't need dominance to feel safe. Lucas Vale stands beside me, steady as a pillar. If you'll excuse me, he says, gathering his documents. Our work here is complete. I nod. Thank you, Lucas. And Merry Christmas. He dips his head and exits. The guests watch him leave as if the ground might shift next. I face the table, my voice even. Thank you all for attending. I know you expected a tribute to legacy. Consider this instead, a demonstration of evolution. No applause follows. Only silence, tight as wire, as I set my napkin down and walk toward the glass doors. Behind me, Charles calls my name, stripped now, threadbare. Thela. I don't turn. The chandeliers above him blaze uselessly, brilliant and hollow. Outside, the night air is warm and salted. The sea murmurs its steady approval. I inhale. The pressure around my ribs releases at last. By morning, headlines will declare. The Monroe family empire transferred, Hawthorne estate, corporate holdings, and all subsidiaries folded quietly into Aurora. I won't correct them. Let the story that comforts them survive. In the days that follow, I keep every staff member. No purges, no theatrics. Just one note pinned to the office board. Build with integrity. Pay people on time. When the first journalist requests a statement, I refuse. The work will speak faster than any crafted quote. The Monroe Aurora Fellowship launches soon after, scholarships for underrepresented designers, labs testing carbon-negative composites, microgrants for apprentices shaping their first studios. Justice of the sewer, my favored truth now. You don't torch the places that wounded you. You plant over them until the roots redefine the ground. And when I stand again on the terrace of Hawthorne Estate, wind threading through my hair, I record a message for anyone who needs it. If they dismiss your conviction as a phase, keep building. Silence isn't submission, it's structure. When a room won't acknowledge you, claim the entire building. Real authority isn't domination. It's choosing peace without retreating from people. I stop the recording. If this story reached you at the edge of your own quiet, share it. Pass it to the friend who builds in shadow, I see them. And tell me, too, what room will you own next year?